Hi, today I will discuss about 7 signs which show that you never healed from your childhood trauma. Do you think you have overcome your childhood? Are you sure? Because sometimes trauma doesn't appear as a clear memory. It doesn't come in the form of a cinematic flashback or explicit nightmare. In fact, the deepest traumas are silent, disguised. They live inside you as habits, impulses, irrational fears, and repeating behavior patterns, always with the same outcome. You suffer, but you don't know exactly why. Have you ever found yourself overreacting to a simple criticism? Have you ever had anxiety attacks out of nowhere? Have you pushed away people who loved you without knowing why? Have you ever sabotaged something good in your life, even though you wanted it so much? Then, let me tell you something. Looking into your eyes as if you were sitting in front of me. This is not drama. This is not weakness. This is childhood trauma that has never been addressed. Bessel van der Kolk, one of the world's leading experts on trauma, says that the body keeps the score, and he is right. Childhood trauma is not just a bad memory, it's a psychological reprogramming of your nervous system, your body, your brain, your perception of the world. Everything has been shaped to survive an environment that once hurt you. And you know what is even crueler? Often you don't even remember exactly what happened. Because trauma doesn't depend on what you remember, it depends on what your body felt, on how your system reacted. And if back then the world seemed unpredictable, your parents were emotionally distant, or you felt you had to be perfect to be loved, your body adapted, your brain went into survival mode, and maybe even today it has never came out. That's why you live on alert. That's why you disconnect from your body. That's why you doubt yourself, criticize yourself in silence, attract destructive relationships, or can't trust anyone. Not even yourself. But here is a truth that can set you free. You are not broken, you are not adapted to a past that still lives within you. And that's why today we are going to talk about the 7 signs that you have never healed your childhood trauma. Not to label you, but to show you that here is an explanation that you are not crazy, you are not alone as well. And more than that, there is a path to healing. But it all starts with awareness, with naming what controls you in silence. Are you ready to see what your mind has tried to hide your whole life? Then take a deep breath and follow me. I want you to observe yourself for a moment with brutal honesty. Notice your body right now. Are your shoulders tense? Is your jaw clenched? Is your breathing short? Trapped in your chest? Even while nothing wrong is happening. This is not a coincidence. This is your body telling a story that your mind has learned to ignore. Hypervigilance is perhaps the cruelest sign of unhealed childhood trauma because it makes you believe that living on high alert is just who you are. That is, constant tension is part of your personality. That you are naturally anxious, restless, always worried. But you are not. This was learned, and worse, it was learned very early. When a child grows up in an unpredictable environment, emotionally unavailable parents, sudden mood swings, constant criticism, threatening silence, unexpected outbursts, the body understands one very simple thing. Relaxing is dangerous because when you relax, something bad happens. So, the nervous system does what it has or was designed to do. It adapts to survive. Bessel van der Kolk explains that trauma recalibrates the brain's alarm system. The amygdala, the part of the brain which is responsible for detecting threats, begins to function as if danger is permanent. The problem is that this system does not understand time. For it, the past has not passed. The body does not live in the now, it lives in the what if. That's why, even in the safe environments, you never really feel safe. The body is always one step ahead, anticipating conflicts, rejections, losses. You read micro expressions, always analyze tones of voice, interpret silences as threats. You do not rest, you watch, and that is exhausting deeply. Hypervigilance manifests in ways that many people do not even associate with trauma. Insomnia, because the body does not allow itself to shut down. Chronic muscle tension, especially in the neck, shoulders, and back. Frequent headaches, digestive issues, a constant feeling of restlessness, as if something is out of place. You may even be sitting, but inside you are running. And there is an important detail. This constant vigilance creates the illusion of control. You feel that if you are always alert, nothing will go wrong. But this is a lie that trauma tells you to keep you alive, not to help you live well. Over time, this permanent state of alertness erodes your ability to feel pleasure. Relaxing generates guilt. Resting feels like a waste of time. Silence is uncomfortable. Peace sounds strange because your body has learned that normal is chaos. And when there is no chaos, it creates one. This is where many people start to wonder, what is wrong with me? Why can't I ever switch off? And the answer is simple, though hard to accept. There is nothing wrong with you. What exists in a nervous system stuck is a past that has never been processed. But the constant state of war takes a toll. When the alert is continuous, and small trigger can provoke an emotional explosion. The body, exhausted, loses the ability to regulate emotions, and then you do not react, you overflow. This is where we enter the next sign. When vigilance fails, extreme emotional dysregulation arises. If this content is making sense to you, keep watching and also subscribe the channel right now. You cry, you lock yourself in your room, or you just shut everything down. Disconnect, disappear from your own body, as if your mind is saying, I can't take this again. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. This is emotional dysregulation, one of the most devastating and least understood traits of unresolved childhood trauma. People who have experienced childhood trauma often have a chaotic relationship with their own emotions. They don't just feel emotions, they are overwhelmed by them. There is no middle ground, there is no space between the stimulus and the reaction. A sideways glance can trigger a meltdown. A difficult conversation turns into a war. A criticism becomes internal destruction. You go from 0 to 100 in seconds without going through reasoning. But this is not a whim. It's not a lack of control. It's neurobiology. As Bessel van der Kolk explains, trauma deactivates the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking, the prefrontal cortex, and activates the limbic system, the most primitive and instinctive part of our emotional system. The result? The body reacts as if it's in a real danger, even when it is not. That's why, during an emotional crisis, you lose the ability to think clearly. You can't self-regulate because you never learned how. Children who grew up in emotionally chaotic environments where crying was punished, anger was dangerous, and vulnerability was ridiculed did not have to develop healthy self-regulation tools. Instead, they learned to suppress, explode, or disconnect. And this disconnection is also common. Instead of reacting with rage, some people emotionally disappear. They feel empty, disconnected. They feel nothing. This is disassociation, an extreme form of protection, where the mind separates from the body to avoid feeling pain. But this comes at a cost. You lose not only the pain, but also pleasure, love, presence. To cope with the emotional roller coaster, many resort to destructive strategies. Workaholism, binge eating, substance use, sex without connection, extreme isolation. Anything that brings immediate relief, even if it brings long-term destruction. Because deep down, you just want to stop feeling or start feeling something. And all of this generates guilt, shame, an endless cycle of loss of control followed by self-criticism. You ask yourself, why am I like this? Why can't I be normal? The answer is because you learned to survive in an environment where emotions were dangerous, where feeling was too much, and now your body responds as it learned. Not to punish you, but to protect you. But When you get used to the roller coaster, it starts to shape your relationships, the way you love, trust, attach. Everything is impacted, and that's when the next sign appears. Because childhood trauma not only destroys the relationship with yourself, it corrupts your ability to connect with others. Now, let's talk about insecure attachment patterns and how they ruin your intimacy without you realizing it. You want love, you desire connection, you fantasize about a stable relationship, someone who sees you, chooses you, stands by your side, but at the same time, love scares you, closeness suffocates, distance hurts, intimacy feels like a minefield. You long for attachment, but flee from it as soon as it starts to form. If this sounds familiar, it's not a lack of worthiness, it's not a bad luck in love, it's trauma, and it shapes from an early age the way you attach to people. Attachment is not just a psychological concept, it's an emotional programming that forms in the early years of life. According to John Wobbly's attachment theory, the way your caregiver responded to your needs, with presence or absence, with validation or indifference, created the internal model of how you understand relationships. And if in childhood, love came with criticism, rejection, unpredictability, or emotional neglect, your nervous system learned that loving is dangerous. Van der Kolk emphasizes that childhood trauma is not limited to major traumatic events. Sometimes it's small, repeated omissions, the absence of affection, chronic invalidation, emotional abandonment that silently reprogram your brain and heart. How does this manifest in adulthood? If you have an anxious attachment pattern, you likely feel a constant fear of being abandoned. You analyze messages, interpret silences as rejection, need constant reassurance, not because you are needy, but because you learn that love can suddenly disappear. And because of that, you cling with all your might, even when it pushes away those who are close. If your pattern is avoidant, you may sabotage intimacy without realizing it. When someone gets too close, you feel discomfort. You disbelieve in love, you minimize feelings, you create distance. Not because you are cold, but because for you, vulnerability has always meant pain. You learn that depending on someone is opening a wound, so you protect yourself by closing off. And there is also the disorganized, the most devastating, a chaotic mix of desire and fear. You seek love and at the same time distrust it. You want closeness, but you freeze when it happens. Your relationships becomes emotional roller coasters, intense, painful, confusing. And often you end up relating to those who replicate exactly the pattern that once hurt you. Unstable, abusive, distant relationships, familiar ones. Because that's what trauma does. It creates an emotional script, and if you don't consciously rewrite it you end up reliving the same roles just with different actors. And the cruelest part, you start to believe that the problem is you, that you don't know how to love, that you weren't meant to be loved, when in reality, all of this is just a reflection of a body and a psyche that have been trained to survive dangerous connections. But this dynamic affects more than your relationships. It affects how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself when no one is listening. And that's where the next devastating symptom of unhealed childhood trauma is born: brutal self criticism and toxic shame. Let's now dive into this silent prison you have built within yourself. You look in the mirror and see a mistake. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much you achieve, the voice is there, relentless, repeating, "You are not enough." You feel shame, but not for something you did, rather for who you are, as if your mere existence were a burden, a factory defect. This is not just low self esteem, this is toxic shame, an emotional poison that steeps into every corner of your life. And the most tragic part, it almost always originates in childhood. The child who grows up in an environment where they are constantly criticized, ignored, or forced to be perfect learns a devastating lesson. I'm the problem. Not there is something wrong with them, but that they are the wrong. And this belief becomes the lens through which everything is interpreted. Without this narrative, you do not build identity, only fragments of pain, guilt, and confusion. Thus, the inner critic is born, a voice shaped by years of invalidation, carrying the words of parents, teachers, or authority figures and turning them into absolute truths. You are stupid, you always mess everything up, no one will ever love you this way. You are too difficult, you need to earn love. And even as an adult, with degrees, a career, friends, relationship, the voice continues because it's not rational, it's somatic. It's deeply rooted in your body. And the more you try to compensate for this pain with perfectionism, productivity, or pleasing others, the further you drift away from yourself. Nothing is ever enough, you are never enough. This toxic shame also prevents you from receiving real love because deep down you believe you do not deserve it. When someone compliments you, you deflect. When you receive affection, you are suspicious. When you succeed, you minimize because accepting affection requires you to see yourself as worthy. And that is unbearable for someone who has been taught from an early age that their value depended on performance, obedience, or invisibility. And so you sabotage yourself, not just in relationships but in opportunities, projects, dreams. Every time something good approaches, your mind triggers the alarm. Be aware, this is not for you. And since trauma taught you to believe that voice, you retreat. The most insidious part is that this cycle of self criticism and shame feeds on itself. You fail because you sabotage yourself. Then you hate yourself for failing. Then you try to fix everything with more control, more perfection, more demands until you break. And when you break, all you feel is more shame. And that is a way out. And it does not start by trying to change your thoughts, but by reconnecting with something you lost along the way. Your body, because trauma is not just in your mind, it's hidden in your body you abandoned. And this is what we are going to talk about now. You analyze everything. You get lost in endless internal dialogues, recreating past conversation, rehearsing confrontation that may never happen. You are always on, but disconnected. Disconnected from yourself, from your body, from your most basic sensations. And when someone asks how you feel, you respond with what you think. This disconnection from the body is not by chance. This is protection. For many people who have experienced childhood trauma, especially chronic emotional trauma, or processed somatic experiences such as abuse, neglect, or unpredictable environments, the body has become a dangerous territory, a place where pain resides, where abandonment is recorded, where tension never ceases, and when the body becomes synonymous with suffering, the mind tries to escape, disassociate, silence the signals. You learn unconsciously the psychic dwelling, to live from the neck up as if your thoughts were the last safe place. But as Bessel von der Kolk says, trauma is stored in the body. It does not disappear with explanations. It does not resolve with logic. It's in the automatic reactions, in the tense muscles, in the short breath, in the knotted stomach, in the tight chest for no apparent reason, in the symptoms that doctors cannot explain. Chronic pain, fatigue, digestive issues, migraines, insomnia, autoimmune diseases. All of this can be body trying to express what your mind never knew how to process. This disconnection also affects your ability to feel pleasure. And I'm not just talking about sexual pleasure, but about joy, enthusiasm, tranquility, embodied emotions, body and mind in presence. When you live disassociated, these moments become rare or even impossible. You feel that something is missing, but you don't know what, as if there were an invisible film between you and the world, and here lies the irony. To heal trauma, you need to go exactly through the territory you learn to avoid, the body. That's why we talk so much about somatic therapies, yoga, breathwork, authentic movement, conscious touch. All of this is not mysticism, it's applied neuroscience. Van der Kolk shows how the body can become the portal to healing when it's included in the therapeutic process. Because while the mind raves, the body reconnects. and only it can release. But to trust the body, you first need to regain trust in yourself. That is another great challenge for those who carry deep traumas from childhood. Because when you learned from a young age that your perceptions were not valid, that your emotions were too much, that your decisions were always wrong, you also learn to doubt yourself. And that is why the next signal may be paralyzing you today, even without you realizing it. Now, let's talk about the difficulty of trusting yourself, about how trauma steals your internal compass, and how you can begin to reclaim it. Have you ever felt that you can't even trust your own decisions? That no matter how much you analyze, reflect, and think about all the scenarios, you still freeze. You ask everyone for advice, you consult videos, books, and experts, but in the end, you remain paralyzed because deep down, you don't believe in yourself. This difficulty in trusting yourself is not shyness, it's not common insecurity, it's a deep wound rooted back when it was still dangerous to have a voice. When expressing an opinion, you were corrected. When showing an emotion, you were ridiculed. When trying to decide something on your own, someone would tell you, you don't know what you are doing. This kind of invalidation, repeated throughout childhood, slowly undermines your connection to your own intuition. You stop listening to your body, your natural impulses. You start to think that everything you feel is an exaggeration, that everything you think is wrong. And over time, you internalize the idea that you need validation from someone outside to make any move. You become dependent on approvals. You postpone important decisions, waiting for the right moment. You ignore red flags because you have learned to distrust your own perceptions. And when things go wrong, instead of comforting yourself, you punish yourself. I knew I shouldn't have trusted myself. This is how childhood trauma creates a cycle of self-abandonment. And this cycle also manifests in compulsive behaviors. When you don't trust yourself, you start to act on impulse. You react without thinking. You sabotage without realizing. You get involved with the wrong people. You refuse good opportunities. You make decisions that deep down you know will hurt, but you do it anyway. Because no matter how irrational it seems, repeating what is familiar feels safer than taking the risk to trust. Bessel van der Kolk talks about how trauma interrupts the sense of agency, of personal power. You feel like a puppet of life, reactive, disoriented, living on autopilot. Not because you want to, but because your nervous system has learned that it's safer to wait for others to lead than to take them self. But the truth is harsh. No one is coming to rescue you. You will need to learn how to listen to yourself. And this starts slowly with small gestures of reconnection with the body, with boundaries, with your truth. Because trusting yourself is not button you press, it's a muscle you train, a bond you rebuild. And when that bond is weakened, the risk is failing into the last and most important sign of unhealed childhood trauma. The compulsive repetition of destructive pattern. That cycle where you know exactly what you are doing wrong, but simply can't stop. Let's talk about it and show you that there is a way back to yourself. If this content resonates with you on some level, comment below. Share with me and others what touched you the most. Not for exposure, but to break the silence and start the healing process. And above all, don't stop here. The next video is just as important as this one. Keep watching and thank you so much for your time.